Let's study for our first quiz in the Civil War. How was Sherman able to gain the confidence of Grant? He fought very well with valor at Shiloh. He offered his services, although outranking Grant. What was Grant's greatest advantage going into the spring of 1864? He had twice as many men as the rebels. The main commander of the Union Army in its loss at Chickamauga was Rosecrans. The gradual wearing away of morale and the power to resist by persistent attacks. Attrition. The lack of equality between things or people. Disparity. Part of a defensive fortification that sticks out toward the enemy. Salient. To discipline, school, or punish. Chastise. President Lincoln was re-elected due in large part to Sherman's victory at Atlanta. This general was nicknamed the Rock of Chickamauga due to his bravery. George Thomas. How was Grant's war of attrition going to shorten the conflict and force the South to surrender? Grant was going to maintain constant pressure on Lee, not allowing his army to rest, knowing that casualties would be high. Grant also understood that he could replace the men lost, but Lee wasn't able to. Eventually, the Confederates would have to surrender or their army would be destroyed and the war would be over. Why did Lee attack Grant in the wilderness? Okay, the terrain would give him a tactical advantage, meaning he was more used to that type of terrain, and Grant would not be able to use all his men. Sherman served as a superintendent of what future university? Louisiana State University, or LSU. Rosecrans' chief of staff who became a president of the United States was James Garfield. Grant and Sherman decided on a plan of action to end the war after what battle? Vicksburg. Why were Grant's men surprised when they marched south rather than north after the Wilderness? Because previous generals had always retreated. What incidents ensured a Confederate loss at Chattanooga? Longstreet left with 15,000 men, Sherman arrived with 20,000 troops, and Bragg chose a siege rather than a main attack. What city was a vital transportation hub to the rest of the South? Chattanooga. To feel anger or hostility toward a person or thing. Animosity. To think of a person in relation to an idea or act. Synonymous. To strongly encourage someone to do or not to do something. Admonish. To develop a relationship with someone. Forge. Why was the Union staying on the offensive bad for the rebel army? They did not have time to rest or reinforce. They were running out of supplies and food. Okay, go ahead and study that. Make sure you know it before you take the quiz.